There's a certain way that truly successful people move through life. They don't wait for proof before they believe. They believe first, and that belief creates the proof. They carry themselves as if the outcome they desire is already theirs. They act, speak, and think from the end result, not toward it. That's the secret. Act like it's already done. Most people live from circumstance. They look around and say, once I see the results, then I'll believe. But the successful person reverses that order. They understand that belief comes first, results follow. They know that the mind, once convinced of a truth, works tirelessly to make that truth a reality. When you begin to act as though your goal is already achieved, you give life a new instruction. You shift your vibration, your tone, your entire state of being. You no longer hope, you expect. You no longer wish, you know. And that knowing changes everything. If you want to be wealthy, start carrying yourself like someone who already is. Not in arrogance, but in calm assurance. The wealthy don't chase money, they manage value. They move deliberately. Think long-term and operate from confidence, not desperation. When you begin to think, walk, and decide like a successful person, your outer world adjusts to match that inner picture. Every great achievement began in the imagination. Before the airplane flew, it had already flown in the mind of its creator. Before the skyscraper stood, it stood first in a blueprint. Your life works the same way. The blueprint exists in thought, and the moment you act from it, not toward it, you begin to align every event, person, and condition to bring it into being. Think of how you feel when something is already done. Relief, gratitude, confidence, certainty. Those emotions are not a reward, they are the key. Feel them now, and you'll begin to attract the conditions that match them. That's the principle successful people live by, often without realizing it. They feel the victory before the world sees it. You may ask, but what if I'm not there yet? The answer is simple: act like you are. Because the mind cannot tell the difference between a deeply imagined reality and one that's already true. When you assume the feeling of success, your mind begins to look for, attract, and create the steps to make it real. That's not wishful thinking. That's how creation works. You live from the result, not toward it. So each day, act like the person you wish to become. Think their thoughts, take their actions, hold their posture. When doubt comes, and it will, remind yourself that everything you're working for is already done in the unseen. You're merely walking the path to meet it. The one who holds that faith, that certainty, that composure, that person cannot fail, because they have already arrived in spirit long before the world catches up. There's a certain way that truly successful people move through life. They don't wait for proof before they believe first, and that belief creates the proof. They carry themselves as if the outcome they desire is already theirs. They act, speak, and think from the end result, not toward it. That's the secret so few understand. Act like it's already done. The ordinary mind waits for visible signs. It says, show me the evidence, and then I'll believe. But the mind that creates success says, I believe, and the evidence will come. It's a reversal of the world's usual order. When you begin to think like this, everything about you changes. Your tone of voice, your posture, your decisions, your energy. You stop hesitating and start embodying what you want. You stop asking whether it will happen and start living as though it already has. The difference is subtle but profound. The person who doubts sends mixed signals to life. They say they want something, but their actions betray uncertainty. The person who acts as if it's already done speaks with authority, moves with confidence, and attracts opportunities that match their conviction. This is not pretending, it's aligning. You're aligning your inner belief with your outer behavior. When that alignment is complete, the world must adjust to fit the image you hold. It's a law as certain as gravity. You become magnetic to the very things you believe are already yours. If you want to succeed in any field, you must see yourself as already successful within it. The actor must see himself already on the stage. The entrepreneur must feel the success of a thriving business before the doors even open. The student must see the diploma long before the ceremony. That vision doesn't come from arrogance, it comes from faith. Faith that the unseen is as real as the seen. Faith that imagination is the workshop of creation. You act not out of wishful thinking, but out of the calm assurance that what you have conceived must, by the nature of the universe, come forth into form. Think for a moment about how your life would look if you already had what you desire. How would you walk into a room? How would you speak to others? What kind of decisions would you make? Start doing those things now. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for validation. The world rewards those who act from conviction, not hesitation. Every movement of yours sends a signal to your subconscious, to others, to life itself. And the universe responds to certainty faster than it does to doubt. When you live as though the result is guaranteed, you tap into a deeper current of power that moves unseen forces in your favor. The greatest mistake people make is believing they must first achieve something before they can feel worthy of it. But the truth is, worthiness comes first. The person who knows they are worthy of success will act accordingly, and that behavior brings success into being. The one who waits for success to prove their worth may wait a lifetime. Your belief sets the limits of your world, and those limits expand the moment you decide to live from the end instead of toward it. Imagine the confidence of someone who already has what you seek. There is no rush, no fear, no desperation. There's only quiet assurance. That assurance is power. It gives direction to thought, strength to action, and clarity to purpose. When you carry that energy, you begin to make decisions from a place of abundance rather than lack. You stop reacting to circumstances and start creating them. You no longer ask, what if it doesn't work? Because you know it already has. The work is simply unfolding in time. The moment you embody that mindset, you step into the same field where all successful people live. Not a place, but a state of mind where the outcome is already certain, and you are merely walking toward its physical expression. Most people spend their lives reacting to what they see rather than creating what they want to see. They wait for evidence before they allow themselves to believe, never realizing that belief itself is the evidence of things not yet seen. Acting as though the goal is already done is not delusion, it is disciplined imagination. It's the ability to hold a mental image so vividly, so persistently, that it begins to influence every thought, every feeling, and every action you take. The successful person doesn't sit around hoping something will happen. They begin to live in harmony with the result they have already accepted as true. They walk into each day as if their dream has already been accomplished, and by doing so, they move in alignment with the very forces that bring it to life. To act as if it's already done is to plant your flag in the territory of certainty. It means speaking from authority instead of doubt. It means letting your actions confirm your faith. You make the decision now and refuse to negotiate with fear later. That is how leaders are made. Every invention, every discovery, every business that changed the world began with someone who dared to act as though it were already possible, already achieved, already real. Their imagination wasn't a retreat from reality. It was a command to reality. What you hold in your consciousness with persistence must eventually take form, because the mind is the architect of circumstance. Consider the way a successful athlete prepares. Before they ever step on the field, they see the victory in their mind. They run the race in perfect form long before their body follows. They act like champions, not because they already hold the title, but because they know that the title is earned through acting like one. Their body obeys the image the mind provides. Your life is no different. Every action you take is a reflection of the image you hold of yourself. Change that image, upgrade it, strengthen it, clarify it, and your actions, habits, and results will rise to meet it. The challenge for most people is that they live from memory instead of imagination. They look back at what's happened and assume that's what will continue. They say, this is who I've always been, forgetting that who you've always been has nothing to do with who you can become. Acting like it's already done frees you from the past. It tells your mind, one no longer live there. You're giving your subconscious new instructions, and the subconscious doesn't argue, it obeys. When you behave as if you've already succeeded, you tell your inner world that success is the new normal. You condition yourself to operate from a higher frequency of thought, one that attracts matching conditions and opportunities. This is not about pretending or forcing optimism. It's about embodying conviction. When you believe something so deeply that it shows in your posture, your tone, and your choices, the world cannot help but reflect that conviction back to you. You begin to speak differently, treat people differently, think strategically instead of fearfully. You become the kind of person who attracts outcomes consistent with confidence and clarity. Acting like it's already done doesn't mean you stop working. It means your work takes on a new dimension. It's no longer effort rooted in desperation, but expression rooted in certainty. Every thought carries an emotional charge, and every emotion has a magnetic field. When you think from the end, you project energy of fulfillment, not lack. You stop chasing what you want because you are already being it. The mind, in its infinite intelligence, begins to rearrange reality to match that vibration. Opportunities appear where there were none, doors open where there were walls, and what once seemed distant begins to move closer because your behavior and belief are in harmony. That is the mindset of the truly successful. They don't wait for signs of victory. They act as if victory has already been claimed. There is a distinct power that comes when a person begins to act from the end result rather than toward it. It shifts the center of gravity from uncertainty to certainty, from doubt to decision. Most people live their lives chasing outcomes, hoping that someday, somehow things will line up in their favor. They act tentatively because they are waiting for proof. But the person who acts from the end, who carries themselves as if the goal is already completed, operates with a quiet confidence that bends reality to their will. They understand that the world reflects their state of mind, and that to live as though the dream is real is the surest way to make it so. The successful individual has learned that results are born twice, first in thought, then in form. The first creation happens in the unseen, where vision and belief take shape. The second creation is merely the physical echo of that mental blueprint. When you begin to act from the end, you stop pleading with life to give you something, and instead, you start expressing the version of yourself that already possesses it. You stop waiting and start being. You no longer ask, will it happen? Because you have already decided that it has. That decision changes everything about the way you move, think, and respond. When you act as if it's already done, your actions carry a natural authority. You stop seeking permission or reassurance because your conviction becomes your evidence. The mind, once convinced, recruits every part of your being to support that conviction. Ideas begin to surface. Creativity flows, and situations arrange themselves to accommodate your expectation. You might not see immediate results, but the inner shift has already started a chain of events that cannot be undone. The power lies not in waiting for things to happen, but in behaving as though they already have. Every great innovator and creator throughout history has lived by this principle. The architect sees the building completed before a single brick is laid. The artist holds the finished painting in mind before the canvas is touched. The visionary entrepreneur feels the success of their idea long before it becomes visible to others. Acting from the end is the common thread that runs through every triumph. It's the unspoken discipline of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and living from that assumption as though it were fact. It's easy to dismiss this as wishful thinking, but it's the opposite. Acting from the end is the most practical approach to achievement because it places you in the psychological state required for success. It transforms your internal dialogue from, I hope, to, I know. It shapes your tone, your habits, and your decisions. It eliminates hesitation and replaces it with direction. Your body language changes, your energy becomes magnetic, and you naturally attract people and opportunities that align with the state you've assumed. Life responds to certainty the way metal responds to a magnet. The mind cannot distinguish vividly imagined experience from reality. When you consistently hold the image of the fulfilled goal and act from it, the subconscious mind accepts it as truth and works tirelessly to make it manifest. You begin to notice patterns, coincidences, and encounters that seem almost too precise to be random. That's not luck. That's the reflection of your inner world materializing in form. The person who acts from the end walks in faith, not because they're pretending, but because they've already seen the conclusion in their imagination. To act from the end is to live with the confidence of completion. It's to embody the person you wish to become, to think their thoughts, to carry their presence. You start to speak from the perspective of success, not struggle. You plan like someone who has already won, not someone still trying to prove themselves. This mindset doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. And once you become that person inwardly, the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. When you begin to live as though your dream has already happened, a subtle but powerful transformation takes place. You stop chasing outcomes and start embodying them. You stop reaching from a place of lack and start moving from a place of possession. Acting like it's already done isn't pretending, it's understanding that your outer life is only a reflection of your inner conviction. The world always adjusts to match what you consistently hold as true. The moment you decide that your success, your peace, your fulfillment are already realities, the entire fabric of your life begins to rearrange itself to express that decision. Most people live trapped in the illusion of time. They believe that success exists somewhere in the future and that they must struggle to reach it. They live in the tension of wanting and waiting. But when you act as if the result has already been achieved, you collapse the distance between what is and what will be. You draw the future into the present. You become the living embodiment of the result you seek. That shift in consciousness is what activates unseen forces that begin working on your behalf. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, speaking the right words, making the right decisions, and meeting the right people. Every person who has achieved greatness has lived in this state long before anyone else saw proof of it. The inventor feels the triumph of discovery before the machine is built. The writer experiences the finished masterpiece before the words are written. The leader walks in the authority of their vision before the world acknowledges their power. Acting like it's already done means carrying yourself with the calm confidence of completion, not arrogance, but certainty. That certainty communicates with life in a way that hesitation never can. When you live from this inner knowing, your actions become more deliberate and your choices more intelligent. You no longer act from fear or urgency. You act from clarity. You know what aligns with your vision and what doesn't. You waste less time because every movement is guided by the energy of fulfillment rather than frustration. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone or beg circumstances to change. You are already in possession of what you seek in consciousness, and the outer expression of it is only a matter of unfolding. This principle extends into every area of life. If you want better relationships, start behaving as the kind of person who already enjoys deep, meaningful connections. If you want financial abundance, begin thinking and managing what you have with the wisdom of someone who already has more than enough. If you want peace, stop reacting to chaos and start responding with calm authority. Each time you act as if it's already done, you reinforce a pattern in your subconscious mind that tells it, "This is who I am now." That new identity begins to govern your habits, thoughts, and perceptions, and reality simply mirrors them back to you. Emotion is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When you feel gratitude, certainty, and satisfaction now, you emit a signal that draws matching experiences to you. The emotion of already having something is magnetic. It commands results faster than effort alone. The world doesn't reward struggle. It rewards alignment. Acting like it's already done is the art of emotional alignment, feeling, thinking, and behaving in harmony with the outcome you desire. When your emotions match your intentions, the gap between vision and manifestation closes rapidly. You don't need to know how it will happen, only that it will. The how reveals itself after you've decided the outcome. When you live in the mental and emotional state of completion, your intuition sharpens and your path becomes clear step by step. What once looked impossible begins to feel natural, even inevitable, because your energy no longer contradicts your goal. The world responds to the signal you send out, and the person who sends out the signal of, "It is done," becomes unstoppable. To act like it's already done is to step into the frequency of fulfillment long before the evidence appears. It is a quiet yet commanding stance, a way of thinking and living that refuses to be moved by appearances. The person who has mastered this mindset doesn't wait for things to change before feeling successful. They feel successful, and that feeling changes everything. The world bends to the vibration of certainty. When you live with the inner conviction that what you desire is already real, you no longer hope. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer fight circumstances because you understand that the outer world is a delayed reflection of your inner assumption. Everything you want is already complete in the invisible. The blueprint exists in thought. The only task left is to align your actions, emotions, and expectations with that unseen reality. Acting like it's already done means thinking from the result instead of toward it. It means speaking with the calm assurance of someone who has already crossed the finish line. The tone of your voice changes, the pace of your movements changes, even the quality of your thoughts changes. You start making choices that match the person you have become in your imagination, not the person you used to be. That single mental shift transforms struggle into flow. The mind, when convinced, becomes the most powerful creator in existence. When you decide that something is already yours, every faculty of your being begins to cooperate with that decision. Your subconscious mind starts filtering opportunities that align with your belief. Your intuition becomes sharper and your actions become more purposeful. What once seemed distant begins to feel natural. The path you walk might still have challenges, but you no longer see them as obstacles. They become confirmations that you are moving through the process of manifestation. Acting like it's already done doesn't mean denying reality. It means defining it. You're no longer reacting to life. You're instructing it. This way of living requires faith, not the kind that waits for proof, but the kind that generates proof. Faith that what you see in your mind is just as real as what you see with your eyes. Faith that the unseen world is more powerful than the visible one. When you carry this kind of faith, it shows. People sense it in your presence. There's a steadiness about you that others can't quite explain. You no longer need to convince anyone because your belief carries its own evidence. This is why successful people seem so sure of themselves long before the world validates them. They have already accepted the result internally, and the universe merely follows their lead. The reason most people never reach their goals is that they keep acting like they're trying to reach them. Trying keeps the goal in the future, always just out of reach. Acting like it's already done brings it into the present. It changes your language, your attitude, and your energy. You no longer say, "I will," but "I am." You stop chasing success because you're already living from it. This mental posture turns effort into effortless action. You no longer strain to make things happen, you allow them to unfold naturally. The person who can hold this level of faith and feeling becomes a magnet for opportunities, ideas, and people that align with their inner conviction. The greatest power in the world is the power of assumption. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Assume the identity of the person who has already achieved what you desire. Every time you think, speak, or act from that place, you reinforce the pattern of success within your mind. The world is always catching up to who you believe you are. When you finally decide that it's already done, you eliminate the distance between dream and reality. You begin to live as the person you once only imagined, and the conditions of your life begin to mirror that decision in ways that seem almost miraculous. There is a moment in every person's journey when they must decide to stop wishing and start being. Acting as though the goal is already achieved is not arrogance. It is alignment with the laws that govern creation. The mind does not create through hoping. It creates through assumption. When you assume something is already true, you behave, feel, and think in ways that make it true. That assumption becomes your new state of being. Most people spend their lives preparing, waiting, or hesitating, believing that once conditions improve, they will finally act like the person they want to be. But the secret is that the moment you act like it's already done, conditions begin to improve. Life moves in the direction of your dominant state of mind, not your current circumstances. The person who acts as if their success is already secure radiates a calm confidence that draws opportunities toward them. They no longer make decisions from fear of scarcity, but from certainty and sufficiency. Their words carry power because they come from conviction, not doubt. You can feel it in their presence. They are living from completion, not striving for it. That feeling of completion is magnetic. It reorganizes your environment to reflect it. When you live as though it's already done, you remove resistance. You stop fighting against what is and begin flowing with what will inevitably become visible. Every thought and emotion you hold sends out a signal to the universe, and the universe mirrors it back in the form of experiences and outcomes. Acting as if your dream has already manifested sends out a signal of certainty, and certainty commands manifestation. When you operate from lack, you communicate doubt, and doubt keeps success at a distance. When you operate from fulfillment, you communicate faith, and faith collapses distance. You don't wait for evidence because your conviction is the evidence. You move through each day with a quiet inner knowing that what you want has already been provided, and your role is simply to receive it in time. The mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. When you consistently imagine the goal as already accomplished and act from that mental picture, your subconscious accepts it as fact and begins shaping your reality accordingly. Your habits start to change because you no longer behave like someone hoping to succeed. You behave like someone who already has. That shift influences every choice you make. You start investing more energy into what aligns with your vision and less into distractions. You speak differently, walk differently, think differently. You begin to see evidence of your assumption reflected back in small, seemingly insignificant ways at first, and then in larger, undeniable ways. The people who achieve remarkable things are not necessarily the smartest or most talented. They are the ones who act with unwavering belief in the unseen. They've learned to close the gap between imagination and expression. They feel gratitude before the blessing appears, and that gratitude opens the door for it to enter. Their secret is not luck but mindset. They think from their desired state rather than about it. Every thought, emotion, and decision flows from the reality they have already accepted in their hearts. And because they act like it's already done, it becomes so. To act like it's already done is to live above limitation. It's to rise beyond the pull of doubt, fear, and delay. It's a mental discipline that requires you to see beyond appearances and trust the power of your own belief. You begin to understand that everything in your external world is an echo of your internal conviction. When that conviction becomes unshakable, results follow with mathematical precision. You stop trying to control outcomes and instead embody the energy of completion. That energy draws matching experiences effortlessly. The more you live from that vibration of fulfillment, the more you notice that life responds to you with precision and harmony, as if the universe itself recognizes that you have already arrived.